You're standing in the middle of the most important decade of your life. The strange part, it won't feel important until it's already gone. One day, you'll wake up at 30, look back at your 20s, and realize something that almost nobody tells you while you're living them. The biggest decisions weren't the ones that changed your life. They were the ones that quietly changed you. And by then, there's no rewind button. Maybe you felt it.
You're scrolling through your phone before you even get out of bed. Someone your age just bought a house. Someone else quit their job to start a company. Someone's backpacking across Europe. Someone's getting married. Someone's celebrating a promotion. 5 minutes later, you've learned almost nothing about them, but somehow you've learned to feel worse about yourself. It's strange. You're sitting in your own room, living your own life, yet it feels like you're losing a race nobody invited you to.
Here's the question. Who decided your life should look like theirs? When did success become a deadline instead of a direction? Because when you were a kid, life came with instructions. Go to school, pass the test, graduate, move to the next grade. There was always another checkpoint, another teacher, another report card. Someone else was always holding the map. Then one day, the map disappeared. And for the first time, nobody could tell you what came next. Suddenly, everyone expected you to figure it out. Choose a career, find your purpose, make enough money, stay healthy, build meaningful relationships, travel, invest, save, take risks. Don't take the wrong risks. Be ambitious, but don't burn out. Work hard, but remember to enjoy your 20s. It's almost funny. The decade with the fewest instructions somehow comes with the most expectations. And that's why so many people mistake confusion for failure. But confusion isn't proof you're lost. It's proof you've reached the first chapter of your life that nobody else gets to write. Think about walking into the world's largest library. Millions of books. Every single one is a different version of your future. One where you become a doctor. One where you build a business. One where you move across the country. One where you never leave your hometown. One where you fall in love. One where you walk away. Which one do you choose? Most people freeze. Not because they're lazy, because choosing one future feels like saying goodbye to hundreds of others. And that's one of the hardest psychological truths about your 20s. The pain isn't choosing. The pain is closing doors. Every decision feels permanent. Every opportunity feels like your only chance. Every mistake feels irreversible. But here's what's fascinating. Ask almost anyone in their 40s, 50s, or 60s how they got where they are, and you'll hear the same sentence in different words. I never planned for this. Life isn't usually built by perfect plans. It's built by imperfect movement. Picture two people standing at the edge of a forest. One spends years searching for the perfect trail. The other picks a direction and starts walking. Neither knows exactly where they're going, but only one discovers what's beyond the trees. That's because clarity has a secret. It almost never arrives before action. It follows action. Yet your brain wants the opposite. It wants certainty before commitment, safety before risk, guarantees before effort. But life doesn't negotiate that way. Confidence isn't something you receive before taking the leap. It's something you collect after surviving the jump. One conversation, one rejection, one mistake, one ordinary Tuesday where you did the difficult thing anyway. And here's where almost everyone gets distracted. People spend years asking, what's my passion? It sounds like the right question. It isn't, because passion is often the reward, not the starting point. A musician doesn't fall in love with music because they're talented. They become talented because they couldn't stop showing up. A writer doesn't discover a calling overnight. They discover it after writing pages nobody will ever read. The world tells you to follow your passion. Reality usually asks you to follow your curiosity. Curiosity keeps you moving long enough for passion to catch up. But there's another trap waiting: comparison. Not because comparison hurts your confidence, because it quietly steals your identity. Without noticing, you stop asking, what kind of life do I want? And start asking, what kind of life will impress other people? Those questions lead to completely different futures. One builds meaning, the other builds performance. Imagine climbing a ladder for 10 years, working harder than everyone else, sacrificing weekends, missing birthdays, finally reaching the top, only to discover the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. That's what happens when success belongs to everyone except you. And social media makes this almost impossible to escape. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's movie trailer. You're comparing your ordinary Wednesday to the best 30 seconds of someone else's entire month. Of course you feel behind. You were never looking at reality, only highlights. But here's something your future self desperately wants you to understand. Your 20s are not built by dramatic moments. They're built by ordinary ones. Nobody becomes healthy because of one workout. Nobody becomes wise because of one book. Nobody becomes successful because of one opportunity. Lives change quietly. The workout you almost skipped, the phone call you almost ignored, the chapter you almost didn't read, the risk you almost didn't take. Tiny decisions, repeated often enough, they become a personality. And eventually, that personality becomes your destiny, which brings us to what might be the most valuable lesson of all. People think the most important thing they have is time. It isn't. It's attention. Because your life always moves toward whatever consistently captures your attention. Give your attention to outrage, and you'll slowly become anxious. Give it to comparison, and nothing will ever feel like enough. Give it to learning, and opportunities begin appearing where other people only see obstacles. Your attention is writing your future long before your achievements ever do. Now here's the twist. The most important thing in your 20s isn't finding the perfect career, or making the most money, or meeting the perfect person. Those things matter, but they all depend on something deeper. The person you're becoming while you're chasing them. Because careers change, industries disappear, relationships evolve, dreams transform. But your character, that's the one thing you'll take into every version of your future. Become resilient, and failure becomes a teacher. Become curious, and uncertainty becomes an adventure. Become disciplined, and opportunities multiply. Become kind, and people remember you long after they forget your resume. Maybe that's why your 20s feel so uncomfortable. Not because they're supposed to give you answers, but because they're slowly introducing you to the person you'll spend the rest of your life becoming. So stop asking if you're ahead. Stop asking if you're behind. Those questions belong to someone else's timeline. Instead, ask yourself something far more important. If I repeated today for the next 5 years, would I be proud of where it takes me? Because one day, your 20s will become a story you tell. Not about how much money you made, not about how many followers you had, not about how perfectly everything went, but about the person you became while nobody was watching. And in the end, that person will matter far more than every goal you ever managed to achieve.